Welcome to D&D Builds, where we have an outlet to make all sorts of ridiculous Dungeons & Dragons characters and stop driving the people in our lives insane with them. Today we're going to be taking a stroll down Elm Street and right into your nightmares with Freddy Krueger. But before we dive into Freddy, let me know your favorite slasher villain in the comments down below, and I'll let you know mine at the end of this video. So let's throw on a fedora, find a striped sweater, and strap on that bladed glove, and get right to the build. First things first, we gotta pick a race. And this one is actually pretty easy. We're gonna go ahead and pick a Kalishtar. They're from the Eberron sourcebook, and they're an entire race based around the idea of being a union between humanity and renegade spirits from the plane of dreams. And with that kind of description, it was impossible to go with anything else. They get a few key features that are notable, such as dual mind, giving them advantage on wisdom saving throws, mental discipline, giving them resistance to psychic damage, which makes all the more sense as to why Freddy's a little hard to kill when he's inside of dreams, and they get mind link, allowing them to speak telepathically to another creature. When it comes to a background, I'm going to go ahead and pick Charlatan, because the whole point of this background is trying to understand how people tick and really getting into their minds, and that seems like something Freddy would definitely want to do. This gives you skill proficiencies in deception and sleight of hand, as well as proficiencies in a disguise kit and forgery kit. Then we gotta dive into some stats. I don't think of Freddy as particularly strong, intelligent, or wise, so I'm just going to dump those and put all the rest of my points into dexterity, constitution, and charisma. It's a bit min-maxy, but I think it'll work. He tends to be pretty squirmy and dart around, plus he has those knife hands, so dexterity is great for that, constitution for being able to survive a decent amount of hits, and charisma because he has plenty of one-liners and he's a little cheesy about it at times. So we'll get 15 points into each of those with a standard point buy system from the player's handbook, and then from our racial modifiers, you get +1 into charisma by default, bringing that to 16, and then the other modifier that would have gone into wisdom, we're going to adjust it thanks to Tasha's rule and boost up our dexterity to 17. Now it's time to sort out a starting class. With such high charisma, I was super tempted to go sorcerer, and specifically an aberrant mind sorcerer, because they're all about mental related spells, and they even have a feature at 14th level called Revelation in Flesh, allowing them to kind of warp their body into weird forms, which I felt like was super accurate for Freddy. But I started diving into the lore quite a bit, and the whole way that Freddy Krueger gets his abilities is through these crazy entities called dream demons. And with that in mind, I just had to go with a warlock. When you choose a warlock at first level, you get access to light armor, which we can try and pretend that your sweater is made of leather or something, even though it very obviously isn't. And you get access to simple weapons, which means we can reskin a dagger into your bladed glove. Then you get saving throws in wisdom and charisma, and you get 2 skills. So I'm going to go ahead and grab intimidation just to help amp up the nightmares and increase your scariness, and then follow it up with Arcana just so you understand the magic of how dreams work a little better. At first level of Warlock, you get to choose an otherworldly patron, also known as a subclass, and considering that Freddy has aligned himself with these dream demons, I was super tempted to go with a Fiend Warlock, but all of their abilities kind of revolve around fire-based spells, and that's really not what Freddy is a fan of. That's literally how he died. So instead, I'm going to lean more towards the fact that Freddy keeps coming back and go with an undead warlock. When you choose this subclass at first level, you get Form of Dread. So as a bonus action, you can transform what you look like, making yourself just more scary, which is perfect for Freddy. And this allows you to gain temporary hit points equal to 1d10 plus your warlock level. And once on each of your turns, when you hit a creature with an attack, you can force it to make a wisdom saving throw. And if the saving throw fails, the target is frightened until the end of your next turn. And then finally, when you're in this form, you're immune to being frightened yourself. Also at first level of warlock, you get access to a special kind of warlock magic called pact magic. And right at first level, you get to learn 2 cantrips and 2 spells. So the cantrips I'm going to grab are Toll the Dead, just to really get in somebody's mind and remind them of their impending doom. And then also Mind Sliver, because it's another mental attack kind of cantrip. And then as far as the first level spells, I'm going to grab Cause Fear, because that feels very Freddy-like, and Arms of Hadar, allowing you to reach out with creepy arms and do some damage. Then at second level of Warlock, you get to learn 1 more spell, and I'm going to grab the very simple Hex, almost like cursing a particular creature, and you can amp up this ability with the other feature you get from second level of Warlock, Eldritch Invocations. So we're going to grab Maddening Hex. So if somebody's under the effect of your Hex spell, you can deal additional psychic damage to them as a bonus action, as well as dealing psychic damage to those around them. Then we're going to hold off on using the other Eldritch Invocation we get at this level, because at third level, you get a Pact boon. And considering Freddy's glove, there's no way we're going to avoid going with Pact of the Blade. So now that you have a magical weapon strapped to your hand, we're going to use the other Eldritch Invocation we were hanging on to, and grab Improved Pact Weapon, giving our infamous glove a +1 to all of our attack and damage rolls. Also at 3rd level of Warlock, you get one more spell, and it can be up to a 2nd level spell slot, so we're going to grab another mental type of spell with Mind Spike. Then at 4th level of Warlock, you get an ability score improvement, so we're going to boost our Charisma by 2 points, and then you get to learn one more cantrip, so we're going to grab Chill Touch, forcing your enemies to feel the chill of the grave. Then finally you get to learn one more spell, so we're going to grab a spell from our Undead Warlock spell list and grab Phantasmal Force, really creating some terrifying and dangerous dreams. Then at 5th level of Warlock, you can learn one more spell that can now be all the way up to a 3rd level spell slot, so we're going to grab Fear, just because that only makes sense, and then we can get another invocation, and we're going to grab Thirsting Blade. So now you can attack twice with your glove as an attack action. Then at 6th level of Warlock, you get another feature from being an Undead Warlock. You get Grave Touched. The powers of the Dream Demons have had an effect on your body and magic. So now you don't need to eat, drink, or breathe, which only makes sense because you mostly live in dreams anyways. And when you have your Form of Dread active, you can replace any damage you do with necrotic damage, and you can roll 1 additional damage dice when you deal that damage. And then lastly, at this level, you get one more spell. So we're going to grab another spell from the Undead spell list, Phantom Steed, because I love that part in one of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies where Freddy kind of turns into a car or a motorcycle and it gets really absurd, but this is a way to pull that off. Then at 7th level, we're actually going to do a multi-class. And if you're having any trouble following along with this build or any of the numerous spells that we're picking up, you can always make your life a little easier by checking out our Patreon. All of our patrons are pretty awesome, but especially our player character patrons, Biscuit Gaming, Salvador, and Keelan, and even going above and beyond that, our Dungeon Master level patrons, Devin Happy, Benjamin, Tristan Bennett, GameStake, and Heyo, who get additional perks, including having D&D sessions hosted by me that I stream right here on YouTube as well as over on Twitch. And then finally, above all else, my God tier level patron Kilo, who I try and give additional perks to whenever I can possibly think of them, but he just goes above and beyond and I cannot thank him enough for it. And now if you're following along about that multi-class, I was still tempted to kind of lean towards that Aberrant Mind Sorcerer, but I couldn't help but just really hammer in on how cheesy Freddy can get at times, and for me that feels like a bard. At level 1 of Bard, you get to learn one more skill, so we're going to grab Insight so you can better understand what your enemies are scared of and bring it into their nightmares. And you also get Bardic Inspiration, so if you do happen to have any allies, you can inspire them to be a bit more terrifying. And then you also get some spell casting. You can learn 2 cantrips and 4 spells. The cantrips I would grab are Vicious Mockery, so that way you can let out some really ridiculous one-liners but still also do some damage with them, and Minor Illusion to bring some illusions from the dreams into the real world. Then as far as the level 1 spells, I would grab Sleep for obvious reasons. You want to help put your enemies to sleep. Then Tasha's Hideous Laughter because it just kind of felt fitting, and then followed up with Dissonant Whispers because it's all about getting into somebody's mind. And finally Silent Image to help confuse those very sleepy future murder victims. Then at 2nd level of Bard, you get Jack of All Trades, allowing you to add half of your proficiency bonus to any skill that you're not already proficient in, and you get Song of Rest, so hopefully people around you are a little more eager to fall asleep thinking that you're going to heal them, even if you really are just going to murder them. And then on top of all of that, you get one more spell, so we're going to grab the infamous Silvery Barbs. Then at 3rd level of Bard, you get to choose a Bard College, and considering how mental and terrifying we're going, there's no other choice than College of Whispers. When you choose this subclass, you get a feature called Psychic Blades. So now if you make a weapon attack, it's actually toxic to a creature's mind, and this seems so fitting because attacking with your glove now harms somebody psychically, dealing an additional 2d6 psychic damage if you're willing to expend one of your Bardic Inspiration die. And this damage only increases as you level up in Bard, going to 3d6 at 5th level, 5d6 at 10th level, and 8d6 if there was a way that we could make it all the way to 15th level. Also, when you choose this subclass, you get Words of Terror. So if you're speaking to a humanoid for at least a minute, you can attempt to make them frightened of you. Then additionally, at 3rd level of Bard, you get one more spell that can be up to a 2nd level spell slot, and we're going to lean towards the idea of maybe sleep paralysis with the spell Hold Person. And then the very last thing you get from this level is Expertise. So you can double your proficiency bonus to 2 skills that you are proficient in, and so will grant expertise and insight to better understand the fears of your targets, and intimidation so you're that much more terrifying. Then at 4th level of Bard, you get an ability score improvement, so we're going to go ahead and max out our charisma. You get 1 more cantrip, and Mage Hand feels pretty fitting, and then you get 1 more spell, and just in case sleep wasn't working for you, we're going to grab the spell Suggestion. So you can just kind of suggest somebody go ahead and take a nap. Then at 5th level of Bard, your Bardic Inspiration die gets upgraded from a D6 to a D8, and you get Font of Inspiration. So your inspiration die refill on either a short or long rest when it was just a long rest previously. And then finally you get 1 more spell that can be all the way up to a 3rd level now. And with all of the times that it seems like Freddy's dead, but not really, we're going to grab the spell Feign Death. Then at 6th level of Bard, you get the ability Counter Charm, allowing you to give any creatures you want within 30 feet of you advantage on saving throws against being frightened or charmed, but I don't know why you'd ever want to do that anyways. You also get 1 more spell at this level, so I'm going to grab Bestow Curse, because it can really feel like you're completely cursed by Freddy if you wind up in one of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. And then lastly, at 6th level, you get another feature from being a College of Whispers Bard. You get Mantle of Whispers, so you can actually adopt another human's persona if they die within 30 feet of you. And this fits super well for when you're in the dreams and you're taking on the look of somebody who's actually died, and you use it just to toy with your victims. Then at 7th level of Bard, you get to learn 1 more spell that can be all the way up to a 4th level spell slot. And one of the most fitting spells to our whole spell list is Phantasmal Killer, because that's just essentially what Freddy is. Then at 8th level of Bard, you get another ability score improvement, so we're going to go ahead and boost up our dexterity and our constitution, rounding them both out and making them both more useful. You also get to learn 1 more spell, so we're going to grab Hallucinatory Terrain, so you can help sculpt somebody's real world as if it were a dream. Then at 9th level of Bard, your Song of Rest gets upgraded from a D6 to a D8, and you get to learn 1 more spell that can be all the way up to a 5th level spell slot. And if you thought Phantasmal Killer was fitting, now you get access to the spell Dream, allowing you to control a creature's dreams and deal damage to them when they wake up. And speaking of which, I was actually super tempted to try and work this whole build around the idea of entering people's dreams with the Druid subclass Circle of Dreams and their 14th level feature Walker in Dreams, allowing you the ability to travel mentally or physically through dreamlands. But there's no way I could justify improving the wisdom score of Freddy to pull off any levels in Druid. So back to the Bard, because at 10th level of Bard you get 1 more cantrip, so we're going to grab Message so you can communicate with somebody without other people hearing it and just start messing with them a little more. And you get to learn 2 more spells, but you have a little bit extra freedom with it because you have the feature Magical Secrets, allowing you to grab spells from any possible spell list. So the spell I'm going to grab is Bigby's Hand, and you can play this off as a giant spectral version of Freddy's bladed hand, grabbing your target inside of their dreams. And with the other spell, we're actually going to not decide on it for just a second, because at 11th level, you get access to 6th level spell slots. So we'll use that other Magical Secrets for the spell Tasha's Otherworldly Guise, allowing you to transform your overall look and make you much more terrifying, but also more powerful and more damaging, because it can make you immune to fire and poison damage, which Freddy would really appreciate, and it can grant you a flying speed and +2 bonus to your AC. You can attack twice instead of once, which you could already do thanks to your warlock levels, but you also get the ability to use your spellcasting ability modifier for your attack and damage rolls, and considering your charisma is higher than your dexterity, that can be pretty helpful. And then additionally, you get 1 other spell that can be a normal bard spell, so focusing more on that mental related attacks, we're going to grab the spell Eye Bite. Then at 12th level of Bard, you get another ability score improvement, so we're going to go ahead and boost up our dexterity by 2 points. And then at 13th level of Bard, our Song of Rest gets upgraded from a D8 to a D10, and you can learn 1 more spell that can be all the way up to a 7th level spell slot. I was tempted to go with the spell Dream of the Blue Veil, but that requires everybody that's the target of the spell to be willing participants, and that didn't really feel accurate. So I was also tempted to grab Project Image or Mirage Arcane, but we already have slightly less powerful versions of them already with Hallucinatory Terrain and other illusion spells. So instead, I'm going to grab the spell Force Cage, so you can trap your victims where you want them in the dreams. Then at 14th level of Bard, you get access to 2 more spells that can now use additional magical secrets, so you can grab them from any spell list. So we're going to grab the spell power word pain, so your words can really inflict some damage, and you can really utilize the power of your bladed glove and the terror that it inflicts with Finger of Death. And finally, you get another feature from your Whispers subclass called Shadow Lore, allowing you to tap into a creature's deepest, darkest fears. So you can actually charm a creature just by making them so terrified that you might reveal their terrible, terrible secrets, and allowing you to actually command them to do whatever you want, which is very sinister and very terrifying. That brings us to level 20 of this build, and you might actually be able to put up a decent fight against Jason. Let me know what you think about this build in the comments down below, and if there's any other builds you want in the future. I actually got some additional insight from the comments about this build, which helped lead me towards the College of Whispers. And I told you earlier to let me know your favorite slasher villain, but personally my favorite is Ghostface. Freddy and Jason and Michael are all fun, but I just love the Scream movies and how self-aware they are. Don't forget to subscribe if you want any additional D&D content, and let me know you got all the way to the end of this video by hitting that like button, and I'll be here hoping you roll at least 3 nat 20s in your next D&D session, especially if you want to take that stroll down Elm Street into the dreams of your enemies and turn them into nightmares as Freddy Krueger.